Welcome back to another episode of Confessions of a Wedding Band, brought to you by all of us here at the Martini Shot. We're a local band here in Southern Colorado and have been for 20 plus years. This is a podcast where we document all of our on and off stage band stories and discuss our originals over the past 20 plus years. If you've been in a band more than 2 seconds, then you know you have stories, and we have those too. And years ago, we talked about putting together a book of all these stories. Well, there's a problem with that. None of us have ever written a book before, but we have sat around and bullshitted about all of our stories before gigs and on the breaks of those performances as well. So thus was born Confessions of a Wedding Band. We've got most of the band here today in the room, so let's go around the horn a little bit and introduce yourself and your role in the band. I'm Brian, I'll be your host for this show. I play trumpet in the band.
I'm Rob, I play sax and keys.
I'm Ryan Sizzle Pizzle, and I play guitar.
Andy Clementi, singer and guitar.
Brooke Mead, bass and sometimes hip-hop keys and vocals.
Steven Falsetto, sax and guitar.
All right, so we're going to dive into today's episode of places to eat at 2 a.m. So we get done with the gig usually around 1:30, and on our way home, just can't go home on an empty stomach, so we're still just jamming at that point at the night, loading up, and then find all these restaurants and places to eat. So let's kind of dive into that a little bit. So go ahead, Sis. Where's your favorite place to eat there?
Everybody knows mine, and I've taken only the most special people in my life to this, but Albert Tacos.
Albert Tacos! You have to run them all together.
To get a chimichanga back in the day when I could actually eat gluten was just fantastic, and I've been, to Albert Tacos so many times. I've woken up with my head on my steering wheel to people honking to move up in the drive-thru line at Albert Tacos. Just a magical, special place for me.
So for our listeners, we should say that the name of the actual restaurant is Albert Tacos.
No, it's Albert Tacos.
And
Albert Akos?
And the more that you get through the night, you would hear Pizzle,
Albert's.
after many, many shots of Jaeger and multiple beers, say, Albert Tacos! Albert Tacos! Albert Tacos! We're going Albert Tacos! And so, yeah, that was his thing.
Yeah, from the very beginning,
just
long before the band, I'm sure. I mean, he was always going to Albert Tacos, but I remember writing the songs for the first EP.
Yep.
At your folks' house.
Yep.
Remember that? So
Getting Albert Tacos.
And we went and we would go to Albert Tacos. We spent a whole weekend writing that first EP in your parents' basement, and every meal we would go to Albert Tacos.
So the the California burrito for me is my favorite. And if you don't know what that is, that's just like carne asada in there with actual French fries in it, and pico and avocado, and it's cheese. It's the bomb, especially at 2 a.m., right?
Yeah.
What's your fave, Piz?
Oh, chimichanga.
Chicken chimmy.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's not even on the menu.
Mm-hmm.
On the menu?
It's like a hidden in and out thing. You have to order it.
You have to
If you know, you know.
I've
But
never
I
been
remember
out.
taking all you guys, even to the one in Fountain, or like when Andy and Greg and I used to carpool, and you'd sit in the little space in the back. We'd go to the Fountain Albert Tacos afterwards, and then roll in about 4 o'clock in the morning. Jeez. Yeah, good times.
Yeah, I've never been there except for once with you and the one in Fountain when you moved up to Springs, and that was my first introduction to Albert Tacos.
Did you have a chicken chimmy?
It was years ago, and I'm sure I did.
They're
The
good.
secret menu.
Yep.
So What's up with Springs and their weird names for like places? Like not so much Albert Tacos, but like remember we used to gig in that like shopping mall and it had Mexican food.
Yeah.
That was the name of the restaurant.
Yeah.
Mexican food.
Yeah.
And it was right next to furniture.
Yeah.
Windows.
It was like the weirdest thing. Like nothing had like a name on it, right? It was like we were in a Lego like movie or something. My favorite for me, which I enjoyed all the time, not so much for the food, but definitely was the entertainment of all of the drunken line waiting to get their food. And that would be the glorious and historic Pita Pit. Rest in peace. Right? Pita Pit. So if you don't know what the Pita Pit is, the Pita Pit is a place where there would be a short order cook on a grill and they would just take whatever you want and cook it for you and throw it in a pita. And then you did it like Subway or like Mod Pizza or whatever. You would just like stick whatever you wanted on top of it, right? And there was always a line there, right?
Took at least a half hour to get through.
And it'd always be the drunks and poor Brian and us, like all drunk, everybody in the whole place, right? Because you're getting your food, which is a cultural thing, right? I think across the world, right?
Right.
And that's so funny. Like I always remember like just people having to hold somebody's purse because they, the girls would go directly to the bathroom, and there'd be some drunk dude trying to figure out what he wanted to eat. And we'd just be like, oh my God, it's going to be like 45 minutes like to get out of here tonight,
We were two of them.
Yeah, and we'd be busting
Find me out of the
everybody's
pit.
chops and laughing after the gig. And I just laughed so hard because Brian, we'd go in there and I would get a club, which was like ham, turkey, everything, right? Like in clubs sandwich. And then I'd put all kinds of stuff on top of it, ranch dressing and lettuce and pickles and all kinds of goofy crap. And Brian would go in there and get like
Steak and eggs.
steak and egg with nothing. It was like, you
cheese.
might as well put it on Melba toast, man. He's like, I'll just have steak and egg. And it would short circuit like all the people working there. Because like all he wanted was
Well,
those,
when I was sober.
yeah, but he only had like 2 items, like that was it, and it just like didn't compute to any of the
Didn't go
people
for the
because like
Dorito
all of us were
filled
trying to get as much food into that pita as
Snoop
much
special.
as we could. And poor Brian would be like, "Yeah, I'll have steak," and I'd just make fun of him every time, man. Like, "Could you put that on Melba toast for him, please?"
Like the anchovy banana.
What's one of yours, man?
I remember going to Pita Pit once with you guys, with Brooke and Rob. Other than that, I don't know that I ever went other than like eating at the burgers at Johnny's afterwards.
I think that's probably the
I mean,
best.
that's got
That
to
was
be
the best.
the favorite, right?
Unless we were when Jimmy John's opened across from.
That's
That
the
was
one I
only
was
if
going to
we were
bring up.
playing there. So, like, really, honestly, of course, we were going to eat there.
It was
'cause
just
that
right
was
across the
best
street.
food.
I would say that's got to be easily, like, when you think of eating after the gig, you think of Southside Johnny's and you think of burgers.
Yeah, the
And how
greatest
they,
burgers.
you would just tell them a number.
Yeah.
This is a good example of, having great wait staff and, all that kind of thing. But all you had to do was just tell them a number. 7.
7,
And then
burgers
boom, there's
tonight.
7 burgers.
8 burgers. 9.
Say we had a
2
wife.
sound guys. Or
Yeah,
whatever,
say we had a
yeah.
wife or a sound guy or a girlfriend or whatever. You say 11, and boom, there's 11 burgers. The minute you're done
With-
playing,
crinkle cut fries.
They were
They
wonderful.
were the
and
bomb.
ranch dressing.
Double. Which, oh my God, one day Pizzle got a double. after eating them for 10 years straight.
I was like, did you guys get a double? Yeah, we've been getting those for what, 10 years?
Yeah, like that's the way they
Holy
come.
shit.
They come as a double, dude. Like, and he was like so blown away.
But I will
that
tell
he
you,
had
their
2
ranch
patties.
was just the bomb. And I
yeah,
just do
the buttermilk.
shots of ranch.
I remember that.
Oh, man.
And-
so good.
We actually ate there for
At least
was it
2,
New Year's
right?
Eve.
Oh,
Because we went to some posh place and they were going to serve their own menu, and we all snubbed it and walked out of a super awesome,
really nice
nice
looking
probably
place.
would have been a great French cuisine 5-course meal to go down to Johnny's and have
Prime
steak
rib.
and lobster or whatever.
think it was prime rib.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
like,
It was surprising, like they were just serving.
and
prime
we
rib
had
that
the
night.
best time and the greatest food that night. Yeah.
It was fun. But yeah, Rob, you were talking about Jimmy John's. So I don't know how long Jimmy's John's has been around
Jimmy's.
in the nation or whatnot. But
James
in
John.
our little state, which was little at the time, not so little now, we didn't know what the heck Jimmy's John's was. And they opened
Nor
a
did
Jimmy.
we have a Blimpie, nor did we
No.
have any of those kinds of
none
things.
of that kind
like,
of thing.
Especially at night.
And so we're playing at the Ritz once a month, and all of a sudden this place shows up across the street called Jimmy John's, and we were intrigued the first couple of times, and then we'd go over there at the very end of the gig before we even tore down. We would go over there and just order.
That's right. Get the sandwiches first. Yeah.
we would
Yeah,
just order our
and we get them
sandwiches.
in like 5 minutes,
Mm-hmm.
which freaked us out, and that's why they're freakishly fast.
Freaky fast.
But I do remember that totally took a hit on the other places that we went to go eat because it was so convenient to grab that sandwich because we have a 45-minute drive back, right, from wherever we were. So like basically, that was a convenient method and a tasty treat at 2 a.m. Right? I mean, who doesn't love Jimmy John's, man? Of course, now they've gotten ridiculously expensive, right? So, what
But
else?
it wasn't that way back then. I mean, you could
No.
get a sandwich for
$5,
$6, and now you can't get out of there for 20.
Mm-hmm.
If you want.
There was always the horrid drive to, like around Circle, I think is where we would stop and we would hit
Oh.
like McDonald's or something like that was always the worst
Lake-
shot
Lake
because.
Nevada.
Yeah,
So-
whatever we'd like, just be us
South
and all
Nevada.
of these people that were just totally tore up trying to get food in the middle of
Like
the
it's
morning.
Us and all these other people.
Oh yeah, that's weird. And what's with the shake machine? Why can you never get a shake machine to work? Like, well, now I know, and thanks to YouTube, that like when they screw it up in the cleaning process, they can't get it to work. But
Oh, okay.
like we never could get a shake, right? Remember that time we went down to where were we, dude?
We
Canyon or Alamosa? Where were we? When that dude goes, "Oh, don't you worry, they tell you that shake machine's like broke down over there, but we keep ours up." We were with Burger King. Do you remember that? And we ordered like 3 shakes because we were so happy. Because like at 2:30 in the morning, you cannot get a shake.
Mm-mm.
Like just forget it.
Yeah, it's
You know?
actually become a joke afterwards.
Yeah, it was a total joke.
Lately, I've seen it more and more, but that was my thing. Was I'd always order a shake, not because I just wanted to see if the machine would work. I wanted a shake, and and it never would work, and Brooke would just laugh.
Yeah, except that one time where we were down. Where were we? Alamosa?
I hope not.
No, it was. It was
that's-
Canyon City.
I doubt
And
that
that dude goes, "Yeah." He goes, "Those guys, they'd tell you, that it's down,
Maybe something
broke,
like that.
But I got shakes. He's like, we keep it running 24.
I don't even think we ever tried to find food in Alamosa that late.
Oh yes, we did. Don't you remember the best time ever when we were all in Little Stinker's cab?
Little stinkers.
Yeah, but I thought we were just always looking for bars.
The best food time ever I remember was when that girl said, "Welcome to Burger King, Malpuse," and we erupted. And Andy goes, "Did you just say Malpuse?" And she goes, "Oh, I'm sorry, Malpuse." And we erupted. And I said, "They're spitting in our burgers tonight, man, for sure. We are not going to get spit-free burgers."
Milk abuse.
I always used to try to buy Brian a steak on the way home from Canyon City at K-Bob's. I was like, "Dude, you want a steak? I'll buy you a steak." But we had to go to Burger King.
We'd sit in that Burger King line forever.
Oh man.
I remember. And then there would be some cars that wouldn't go because they'd be hammered.
Yep.
So they'd be in front of us and they wouldn't go forward.
So the Beast,
gotta
we
talk
should
about
talk
the
about
Beast.
that, right?
Yeah.
So the Beast is this pizza that's like the size of a table. And it has, God, how many pieces do you think's in that? Like 40
Yeah,
pieces of
something
pizza?
Yeah, it's got to be 40. Yeah.
All right. And it's at one of our favorite bars up north, Springs, that basically is called Back East. And so they pride themselves on, food from East Coast. So it's East Coast New York style pizza. And it's an expensive pizza, but nonetheless, like, we devour one every time we go. Unless, of course, it's extremely greasy and it's hard on the gut. And the next morning, you kind of aren't proud that you did eat as many pieces as you did.
Well, when we were playing
But-
2 nights there, that was a problem because we
Right,
wouldn't
right.
order
Yeah,
one the
usually
second
we
night.
wouldn't do that. Yeah, that's right. But all in all, it was like a great reward, right? At the end of the night to like try to kill a beast.
And we did every time.
Yep.
And every time it's Andy. Andy, go order the Beast. Andy, go order our burgers.
Oh yeah, we'd be so mad.
It would be the end of the world.
If that beast didn't get ordered, which it did not get ordered a couple of times, it was Andy's fault.
And Andy would be like, "Why do I have to order it?"
Why is it always me?
And there was always a drunk guy who would eat the last.
Yeah,
couple
just
pieces.
walk up
the
to
ones we
the
didn't
beast.
want.
Yeah.
The ones in the center that were like super grody, like grease ball. They would always give like a couple pieces, right, to somebody.
Yeah, but it was kind of funny. I was always like, well, "Dude, did you order the Beast? No, did you order the Beast?"
Why did you order it?
Or the one time Brooke was, I'm going to go order the Beast. And then he forgot. And then it didn't come out and he still blamed you.
Oh my God, did I?
What?
Oh my God, I'm sorry, bro.
What? I've never heard a story like that.
I assume that could have been. Since there were many gigs where
I think we were
we
having.
banished ourselves to a corner, like, which is my favorite thing about like playing in a club is Pizzle and I, if we were having serious moments of total not being able to play a song because we had imbibed too much alcohol, like, would banish ourselves to our amp.
Yep.
And we would stare at our amp and turn around from the crowd. And so I do remember a few times where I banished myself to the corner. So I could have easily told you I was going to order a Beast and then totally forgot.
And that's exactly what happened because you said, I think I was mad at the time. I was like, no, you do it. I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
And I think you said, okay, fine, I'll do it. And I think you forgot.
Yeah, and then he was like, "Man, Andy."
Well, like I say, I'm passionate about the food that we have.
And I lie to wish you give it to me night and day. Goodbyes and no surprise, I'll be on my way. But tell her that I love her, what you gonna put up a fight? 'Cause I like to have her give it to me right night and day. She loves me like pajamas on a Sunday morning. It feels so right, I just might climb back in with her. I need a light, I need a light, the sheets need cotton. No sleeping time, the stars collide. She pulled me under.
The song you just heard was Night and Day. It's off our latest full-length album called Last Call. Came out in 2016, and we're going to talk a little bit about it right now. So Night and Day. The thing that pops out most about that song for me is, I remember writing some of the lyrics on your couch, Andy, and everyone had left, and I was just hell-bent on finishing that second verse.
I remember that.
And we'd all, worked for hours writing lyrics. Everybody left. I'm like, no, we got to finish. And we just pushed and pushed until the end of that.
I remember that.
And we got it done that night, right?
Yeah, we could finish that second
Yeah.
verse at least.
I mean, that tune, I think had been floating around for quite some time. Ryan wrote that tune probably 2-3 years before we even recorded the song.
Yeah, I had that riff way before. It was just kind of sitting in the bank forever.
And it just sat there. And I think we had the melody. He had written the melody. We had the melody there. It was just we didn't have lyrics that went with it. And which sometimes, Brooke's always big on, that each of them are our babies, and some babies are pretty, some babies are ugly, some, and this was one that was really tough to kind of put together, really, in my recollection. I think we did okay with getting the chorus down, because Ryan and I at the time were playing Park East every Wednesday night, or playing Primetime every Wednesday night. So Ryan and I would kind of go over the stuff almost weekly, and then it would just slowly have a little new nuance that would come in. But we couldn't come up with, just getting it handled. And I think we had a big writing session with the whole band, coming together. And this was one of the tunes that we were like, let's just get this sucker done. Let's figure out how to get it done. And that, I think that night was when Brooke came in and did his bridge magic. And we got all that stuff in. And you're right. I think we were just waiting on lyrics for the verses.
We talk about how important lyrics are, and I've never really thought of us as the greatest lyrical band, and I think we've already stated that we have trouble with that. But the song in itself takes me on a little journey through, like that moment when you're really in love with somebody, and everything's kind of melding and grooving well, and you're living together, and it's that feel good portion of a relationship that he kind of paints out with those lyrics, like a lover, like on a Sunday morning, or like you're talking about, things that are comfortable, right? Like you might just jump back into, bed with this person, I mean, all those things are really nice. The imagery that it paints at the beginning of it is pretty cool. And once again, simplicity in the chord progression, but there's some twists on those things that happen, especially at the end of the tune, which I like. And it's the first time I ever really tried to play a melody line, or like a separate melody line in the bass. For me, there's a lot going on in there. It's really busy. And so it's hard for me to play live, but it has its own specific kind of place style wise, because it's an amalgamation of all these other different styles. It has a Jack Johnson kind of feel, but it's real laid back and vibey, and it's kind of like Dirty Headsy, but at the same time it's not in any real genre. It's a good piece of pop music, I think, personally. I
think it's kind of almost in a way kind of a continuation of kind of the vibe of I Don't Mind from 2 albums prior, but it's evolved. There's a lot of more evolution that has gone into, I mean, obviously us playing together for as long as we have, and then just kind of some more sophisticated work in there.
There's
outside of it, I mean, including horns and such. So
there's a couple things in it that are kind of cool. I think one, the acoustic parts are recorded really well. I remember, where did we record those? In here, down.
Well, that's what I was gonna say.
I think it was down in that
recorded
room,
this
right?
song everywhere.
This is a weird one because there's 2 versions of this song that exist. There's one that you guys recorded years before I was in the band at Greg's house, and I tried for a long time to mix it and get it to fit with everything, and we finally just decided
scrap it.
We're just going to re-record it. I think it's when we recorded in your basement.
Yep.
Right.
Towards the end of the process, we just we just re-recorded the
This
song.
was like the third to last song that we recorded for the
Yeah.
album.
Yeah,
Which is-
so
it was
they're
one of the
recorded really
oldest.
well,
Yeah.
and they came out really clean, and you can tell like how intricate and interesting those parts are. And the other thing is coming out of that solo, you hear like you go woo, or something
Yeah.
like in the middle of it,
Forgot
which is
about
our
that,
humor
yeah.
again, which I thought was funny. But it's like it really does catch that moment of like a performance where we were like, yeah.
Well, and I
you
think
know?
that was the
Like,
reason we chose to re-record it, because it wasn't the original recording wasn't bad. It just had a different vibe. And then, like we said about the other song, just getting in the room and playing it together, it just came together really easily.
Yep. I remember, yeah, we recorded that one everywhere. I think we even recorded some parts at the cabin or somewhere. But
Yeah, we may have.
yeah, so that one was, I remember redoing the whole thing. And we actually did a couple of those too, where we recorded it way earlier, a couple years, and then we just had to just redo it. It just wasn't right, and then it just came together at the end. But yeah, just going into Andy's basement, that it came together so fast.
Yeah.
And a couple more songs did too, which was crazy because we went from, in that whole album, from a multi-million-dollar studio in Denver to a cabin to his basement.
And I still think those ones we recorded in your basement probably had the best
Yeah.
sound.
yeah.
Well, and if you look
Crazy.
back at those, I mean, you're looking at so Night and Day, Let Me In, and
Clock is
Clock
ticking.
is
Yeah,
Ticking.
Let Me In. It sounds really good.
So if you listen to just the actual band, like the whole band, because we all played that together, and we were separated out just the perfect amount of space. It was a good sound.
I really enjoyed the horn lines.
Yeah, I was just thinking that was
You know, that was a lot of fun.
because you guys had already written all that, so I didn't really have a part in writing the horn lines, but I did kind of what I had been doing as my role in the band was just trying to figure out where I fit in between the two of you. And I remember doing the recording. It was just cool because you can really hear it split off into three parts throughout, which I thought was really neat.
Super fun to play too, live.
And it adds a entirely different harmonic structure to it that it wouldn't have. I mean, there's a lot of jazz chords in
Oh yeah,
that song, which it's kind of dripping like with like a New York kind of sound to it to me, in some form. Like it reminds me of Manhattan or something, it's just like very, very American in its choice of, all the different harmonic structure that's within that tune, and especially within just the guitar chords.
yeah.
Me playing an independent line, the harmonies in the vocals, and the horn part harmonies, all those things are pretty crazy. Did we put keys on that?
Yeah.
Yeah, which even made
Robbie put a bunch of
that
organ
so
parts
that makes
on
it
it.
even more interesting. I think that it got to a point
That
where
Nord.
we had to make decisions, right?
That was
About like what was going to be prominent, and like mixing, and
Yeah.
there's
Well,
so much information there.
I think it was like Andy said, it's a really clear evolution from the earlier songs. It would fit right in with those other songs, but it's like you're saying, it's just a little more sophisticated.
Yeah,
I
it has
think.
more sophistication to it.
Yeah, and another thing that was really cool about it was Greg could overplay like a lot of that, I think, in some form, but he kept the power in his fills, like they're really cool, but it's not overplayed, like the parts are just right for the way that it grooves along, and but he still shows some really tasty chops in there.
Yeah.
There's like some things in there that he's doing that are hi-hat oriented or tom fill that just are the right part.
Especially because that is a busy song.
Yeah.
Busy.
Well, I think that was the biggest difference between the first version and re-recording it was Greg.
Yep.
That has solely to do with his interaction with you guys while you're playing, I think. Because the first time it was all overdubbed, and yeah, he was hitting hard.
But I remember you coming over to my house where we were doing our guitar solos together, and you showed me that new version. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
way better.
It just locked in
Yep.
so much better.
Much better.
And that's another episode from everyone here at the Martini Shot with Confessions of a Wedding Band. Thank you so much for listening. And again, we're not really podcasters, but we're having a fun time telling all our stories and documenting our stories. Check us out on all the socials. You'll be able to look up Martini Shot and find us all the social networks that you're involved in. And then also check out our website, martinishotband.com. This podcast is produced by all of us here at the Martini Shot and audio engineered by the man, Stephen Falsetto. Keep supporting local music in your community, and don't forget about your wait staff. Tip them and tip them well. Send them your love. We'll see you next time.
The clock is ticking and I'm not sticking around. The wall has rotted, it's burning to the ground. Searching and searching, there's something to be found. The clock is ticking and I'm not sticking around.